a vessel with a handle and spout. And the way I do it, I call it lost and found wood process. I don't know if you know, Art Leastman does a process that he calls lost wood, where he glues a piece of wood up in the middle of his work and then takes it out and glues it back together so it's oval shaped. Well, I do the same thing, except I go another step. I put a piece of wood in, turn it, take it out, and put another piece of wood back in. So it remains round, but it gives me an opportunity to carve a handle and a spout on it. There are lots of ways you can put handles and spouts on your vessels. This one happens to be folded construction. This was made, if you can imagine, like this on the lathe. So this part was turned and that part was turned, and then it was split in half and glued back together this way. So that's that. And this is another way. This is a great way to make a nice practical drinking cup. Okay, this is just turned and then carved around the rim. You can turn the inside and carve the hole outside if you like. That seems like a lot of work to me, so I do it another way. One thing I found after I made this one, this should be done as a cross-grain piece. I did this as end grain, and when I dropped it last night, the handle broke. So it should be done cross-grain with the grain running this way through the handle, just so you know. I'm going to pass these around.
So that was done this way or this way?
It was done, it was on the lathe just like that.
Okay, because I see the...
That was added after,
Okay.
and that's what we're making today. So it starts out as a piece of wood that I cut the middle out of. This is the middle that I cut out. This is the piece of wood that I cut it out of. It was right there. I take another piece of wood and I sand both pieces to the same thickness so that when I put this piece back in, it's going to be the same diameter as it was when it was on the lathe. And I glue it together with a piece of paper in between. I do that so that when I want to take it apart, it will split apart at that paper joint very easily without taking the wood with it. So I'm going to pass this around. Again, this is the mahogany. There's a piece of Florida maple in the middle, and then mahogany here, and this is the piece that came out of the middle of the mahogany. And here, I'll send this one around the other way. So this is the actual blank. Again, mahogany, maple in the middle. And I need to find the middle of my blank, so this is the easy way for me. I start with my calipers. I know that this piece is 2 inches, 440 thousandths, so it's going to be 1 inch, 120. So right there. And I just use that to scribe a line this way, scribe a line that way. Sometimes there's a little gap between them. It's okay, I can find the middle of that gap easily. It only has to be approximate. Same thing, I go this way, and again, I just find the middle of that little square that's left. Take my awl, find the middle of that square. And I now have the centers I'm going to use to locate the piece on the lathe. Does it matter which way this one goes? No, not really. So I'm using stub centers here. I like using stub centers because they don't put deep holes in the wood. But you can use any centers as long as they fit your lathe. Well, one of the other things about a stub center is it doesn't tend to split the wood. Okay, so that can be a problem if you use a center that's got a long point on it. this a good place to start?
Absolutely.
Did you hear about the guy who drank invisible ink? He's at the hospital waiting to be seen. So I'm going to start with a spindle roughing gouge. All I'm going to do is make this piece round. Question? Yes, sir.
So when you do that, is there like a fan that stops like the friction from it catching on fire? Like, is there a fan that cools it so it doesn't catch on fire because of the friction?
No, it's just, wood doesn't catch on fire until it's almost 600 degrees.
Oh,
So
so we're
if it was 600 degrees here, you would see me going like this. Okay, a little bit more to go here. And this is the shape I'm going to make, so I'm going to start with just,
that.
I'm going to move my tool rest a little closer to the work.
Squeeze here for a second. Just the focus a tiny bit.
Good? Not quite round here yet, so. And just making a bit of a flare at the top and a tapered body. And I'm going to return the outside of this later, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time getting it really fancy. But now I've got to be able to hold it while I hollow out the inside, so I'm going to make a tenon on this end. That's I'm going to hold it in these chuck jaws, so I'm going to,
What are they?
This is my four jaw chuck. And that's my size, so I know I can go about that far. And for this, I'm going to use my 3/8 spindle gouge. Really love this gouge. I really want this. This is a really critical phase of making this part, because I want this to hold securely in the chuck. So I want to make sure that this angle matches the inside of the jaws of my chuck, but even more importantly, I want to make sure that this spot right down here in the bottom of the taper is a nice sharp edge, because that's got to match the top of my chuck jaws here. If it's rounded, when the chuck jaws bite down on it, it's going to allow it to rock in the chuck. And what I really want is for this flat area here to sit on top of those jaws nice and secure, while that angle on the bottom pulls the piece down in. So it's looking pretty good. I think that's enough. I do need to get some shape to my cup here. Okay, so there's the outside shape of the cup. Well, while I'm doing that, why don't football players wear glasses? Why?
Maybe because
Because it's a contact sport. Now there's all kinds of different ways you can hollow out a piece of wood. You can drill this out with a drill and then hollow it out with a gouge, and you can, but frankly, hollowing is probably the most boring thing you can watch in wood turning. It's not so boring to do because you're always frightened about, am I going to go through the sidewall? But it's boring to watch. So I'm going to do it the fastest way that I know. I brought my one-way chuck, which has a number 3 Morse taper, which won't fit the... Luckily, now hopefully we have a chuck key for it.
There's one for all.
Take a shot. He's gonna show you how to use it.
Yeah,
And this one. Just use this one.
okay.
Yay!
So I'm going to use a pair of yeah, so we got to go about that deep. And why can't I even think of the word here? These are, what kind of drill bits are they? Ooh, that's not. Okay, when drilling, you want to use a slower speed, but whenever you're drilling with a chuck in the tailstock, it's only being held in by a taper fit here. So you always want to keep your hand on the chuck, hold it back against the tailstock. As long as it's securely held against the tailstock, it won't back out. But, so forestry bits tend to make a lot of heat, and because this is glued together, you need to be careful. Don't overheat the wood, melt the glue. Take it easy. Uh, 917 RPM. Should clear the chips out of the piece every now and then.
Watching somebody drill all the holes.
Now, there's only so much quill, and I don't want to run out and have the screw come out the end of it, so. And before I put this drill in here, I measured about how deep I wanted it to go. And I know that's about it right there. And again, I'm holding on to the chuck, keeping it into the tailstock so that it maintains that taper fit. I probably should have mentioned I do this with dry wood because you don't want wet wood changing dimensions on you while you're going through the process. So this is what we're making. I'm going to pass this around.
Brian?
Yes. Yes, sir.
So why is this powder softer than this powder?
Oh, because it's smaller pieces because this thing,
Yeah, you use the gouge for that, but
This is-
the only difference is you use that and
well, the big difference is that this is end grain. I'm cutting into the end grain of the wood where this was side grain of the wood. When you cut into the end grain of dry wood, it tends to come out as powder, sawdust. The tree grew this way.
do they use that for, do they use, can they, not continue, do they? Can they use that for like cement or like stuff like resources?
It has a lot of uses. They use it to make things like MDF. MDF is, was it medium density fiberboard? They take a whole bunch of this stuff and a whole bunch of glue and they put it together and they make something that they call MDF. So this is a box rest, which I like to use when I'm hollowing with my skew. I really like to use the skew for hollowing on straight-sided pieces or pieces that have a straight taper. Note that this skew, I don't know if you can see it, but it has a rounded surface on the top. Okay? That's important because when inside of here, if it has a square surface, this point will be pushed away from the wood as it comes down around the circle. Yes? So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to push this right in here just like this. Okay? Ready? What did one wall say to the other wall? What?
You can walk through me.
I'll meet you at the corner. You notice here that I'm going at a pretty fair angle, because I'm not really trying to make the sidewalls yet. I'm just trying to get a little start here. This takes off a lot of wood pretty quickly. I'm just taking light cuts along the interior wall of my straight-walled vessel. And I can look down the skew here and see how it compares to the taper on the outside. I have the center point of my skew is right on the center of the workpiece, vertically. And I brought my fancy chip clearing device. There you go.
Excuse me?
Brian, another question.
Yes, sir.
I have one last one. Do you like look here so you don't have to like look around like to look at that side or like look?
That's probably a good idea, but I don't usually have a video camera on me, so I'm used to looking right here, and I never thought about looking there. Maybe I should try that. Okay, so I think it's relatively thin walled there, so I'm going to just do some smoothing on the inside. And I need to maybe put a little taper in the bottom, a little roundness, so I'm going to use my carbide hollower. And again, I want to be more, pretty much on center. I can be a little above while I'm working on the sidewalls, but I don't want to be below, because if I get a catch below, it'll go out through the side of the piece. If I get a catch above, it'll push away from the edge. So before I do that, actually, I really want to clean up this top edge a little bit.
Brian, explain what the sound is.
That's the vibration of the piece, and I should have done this before I hollowed the inside completely, and I wouldn't have had that vibration as a problem. Okay, so my bottom is right there, right there. Okay.
Sophisticated measuring.
Yes, yeah, because it's real critical. Here I'm using a round nose scraper because I just want to get a little bit of a curve in the bottom of the vessel. And this is not really critical because, again, I'm going to go back on the inside of this piece. This is mahogany with a piece of Florida maple in the middle.
Okay. Now, Florida red maple is really nice to turn. It pulps incredible. You get a log and you seal it and throw it on the yard for 8 months or a year. You get vivid black plants. And most people don't know, but when the Florida red maple flowers and the honeybees get the nectar from there, the honey tastes like butterscotch. Really cool.
So I think this piece is good enough for what we want to do next, which is take the piece out of the middle. So I'm going to split this piece, and I'm just going to use my utility knife, and I'm going to carefully insert it at the joint. Man, I wish there was light in this place. It's not really hard to do. It will come apart right there. One of the things that makes it easier to do is to make a thinner glue joint. So the thinner this glue joint is, the thinner the piece is where it's glued together, the easier this will separate. I learned that the hard way. Can you see that? Is that in the camera?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, I'm going to insert it right at the glue joint.
Is this yellow glue?
This is Titebond, original Titebond.
Excuse me. Did you make the hammer on the lathe too?
You notice there, if you look closely, you can see that I missed the line there. Not a problem. Just come back, move over just a little bit, and it will follow right down that line. And I'm not going all the way to the bottom because it's a lot easier to get started if I have the whole thing as one vessel until I get there.
This one of the demos you're doing next year at the Florida Symposium?
It is. I have 4 demos planned. One is what I did last month. This is a second. I'm also going to do a demo on therming.
Where you have that multi-jig and you're turning the piece of the light on the outside of the circle, and then you're rotating the piece in your jig.
Therming is turning a piece farther off center, on an axis farther off center than the diameter, the radius of the piece. So if you can imagine moving this farther off center than this. So it would be out here somewhere.
We can't see it. Yeah.
How is that held in place?
On a jig. If you, I did a demonstration late last year, I think, on interior therming. We do an exterior therming, both on a faceplate jig and an axial jig. And you can see the paper separates right in half.
Yeah.
And there's the inside of my vessel. And you can see there's quite a bit left here in the bottom. It's easy enough. You can use your Dremel here and carve some out. That's why you don't have to be really careful about what you're doing when you're hollowing it out as far as the depth is concerned. But I kind of like the tapered walls that kind of gets thicker at the base. Now this is what, at this point, this is what Art Leastman would glue back together in his lost wood process and make an oval-shaped cup. Okay? So, but I'm going to glue another piece in here, which I'm going to, where's that piece? Where's that piece I passed around? No, the flat piece.
No, the flat, it's a flat square mahogany.
Okay.
I said that was a hammer.
Thank you. Well, that one's not quite tall enough. We'll do it on this one. So I'm going to lay the piece out on here. And Lee, you didn't sharpen any of these. Take a pencil. I'm going to draw around the outside of my piece here. I don't know if you can see it. He's going to go right back there, like that. I'm going to draw around the inside. And I'm going to draw a straight line across the top here. Draw my handle on here. Let's say I want to make this shape. And over here I want a spout, so I'm going to have it come out like that. And I take this to my bandsaw and I cut out the outside. Drill a hole in here and here. Take it to my jigsaw and cut out the inside. Or you can just take it out with a Dremel or whatever. Scroll saw is what I use. And then I put that piece in the middle and glue it back together. And with the aid of the magic of television,
What's that?
Now, let me ask you a question, because I noticed on you traced your dovetail, and you're matching that and putting it in. Are you adjusting it at any point in time? or-
okay, so that's my next point.
Okay, good.
Okay, so notice that I've got my tenon down here, but this tenon was only cut out on the saw, okay, on the sides here. Not good enough. Told you how important it was before, so I'm going to take my chuck back out of here. Where did I put the, there it is right there. Well, take the chuck back out of here. And you might have wondered why I left the piece of wood on the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's because I'm going to put it back between centers. So I can recut that tenon.
So then when you're initially sizing your tenon for the bottom of this, do you purposely like leave it a little bigger, knowing that you're gonna have to slightly trim this right here? You don't wanna be like completely maxed out fully.
I just never do anyway.
Okay. Brian, how did you find the center on both sides? Just by?
By guessing my gosh.
By God?
You got it. But it's, yeah, it's pretty darn close, and that's going to be close enough. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to I think I'm a little off this way, so.
Ever tried to hollow vessel like a teapot?
I'm sorry?
Have you tried a hollow vessel like a teapot doing?
This is, the plan of this is to make a whole tea set.
Oh, okay.
So this is the creamer. Then the sugar bowl is going to have two handles. And then the teapot will be, but the teapot will probably be more like the folded construction because the teapot needs, yeah, the teapot needs more of a spout.
So, are you gonna make like a plate too?
I'm sorry?
Are you gonna make like a plate too?
Paint?
Plate.
Plate. Oh yeah, gotta have saucers. Yeah, they gotta sit on saucers.
Also plate under the teapot.
Oh no. Why do they call it a saucer?
That's a good question.
Wait, maybe because it,
That's not even a dad joke.
I don't know if you caught the one that Lee told while you were drilling.
I don't think
Did you
it,
catch that one?
I don't-
It would be perfect in front of the crowd, like two.
I don't think I did.
No, I didn't hear it either.
Oh, he flat out, he was sitting, when he was drilling, he goes, you know what the worst part about drilling a hole is it's boring.
Yeah, you're right, that would be perfect. So whenever you're doing anything that's got projections on it or it's off center, always take the time to spin your piece.
Well, the handle looks like
Doesn't look too bad. I think we can live with that. Let's see what happens if we start cutting the tenon. It's actually looking pretty good so far. And the faster you spin something that's got an interrupted cut, the easier it is to do. So that's looking pretty good there. It's awfully quiet out there. We need some more groans. What did the coffee report to the police? A mugging. So we just happen to have a really short tool rest.
excuse me.
Brian, another question.
I'm sorry, yes, sir.
When you're done, will you do the snow angel in the woods?
I'm sorry?
When you're done, will you do snow angel in the woods?
Snow Angel, I don't think there's going to be enough for me, but you might be able to. There it is, right there. So let's see how well I did. That's looking pretty good. And when I'm doing this, I'm looking up here on the piece because I can see right there is where my handle is. So I don't want to go that far. Okay, so that's all I can do on the outside. Looks like it's a little off to that side. I think it'll be okay.
Now, would you normally cut that center out by hand, or would you turn it?
This, I turn it out.
I didn't know if you could get rid of part of it.
So I usually start with a